April 17th, Bob Goff.
Taking a bigger step may be the seed that grows the impossible. Bob Goff calls himself a recovering lawyer. With a passion to spread love everywhere he goes and to encourage others to do the same, he lives out the gospel at every opportunity. Whether helping a dying widow cross off bucket list items or defending helpless children from witch doctors in Africa, Bob's life is defined by love in action. In Uganda, witch doctors have an unofficial immunity. They can torment anyone they want for their own gain. Young boys are a particular interest to them because the boys' body parts are believed to give them added power. Children are disappearing every week, and the government's efforts to stop this do little good. This practice has been going on for centuries, and in the last decade, it's been getting worse. Kabi, the leader of the witch doctors in the north, was on the move, and 8-year-old Charlie was his next victim. This particular case was different from 1,000 others, only because this time Charlie lived to talk about what the witch doctors did to him. Now Bob had a case. With a deep love for children and 25 years as a lawyer, Bob stepped in to get Kabi prosecuted and bring this evil system to justice. Kabi went to prison for life. This was the first time in Ugandan history that this had happened. But Charlie's family abandoned him because of the atrocity, and Bob became Charlie's legal guardian. Bob said, "The minute he attacked Charlie, Kabi became my enemy. It's easy to talk a good game about loving your enemies until you have one. I realized if I wanted big things to happen in my life, I'd need to take bigger steps and risk more than I had before. So I decided to visit Kabi in prison." With the same love that compelled Bob to love Charlie, Bob walked into the Luzira maximum security prison where Kabi had been incarcerated, one of the scariest places on the planet, and asked to see Kabi. Kabi entered the dark room where I was waiting, Bob said. He had no shoes and was wearing a torn, dirty prison uniform. He seemed remorseful. He told Bob, "I know I'm going to die in this place. What I need is forgiveness." Kabi came to Christ in that dark room and began to learn about Jesus. During his next prison visit, Bob asked the warden if they could share Jesus with the men in Luzira. At first, he waved me off, but then, as if I'd done a Jedi move, he said he'd let Kabi talk to them. Bob and Kabi soon found themselves standing before the 3,000 death row prisoners. Not as enemies, but now as brothers, Bob held Kabi's hand as Kabi shared what Jesus had done in him. Bob said, "Every guy in that place knew who Kabi was and what he had done, and more than a few knew that I was the guy who put him there." When Kabi finished speaking, hundreds of men walked towards them. The men on death row wanted to know about this Jesus who could reconcile such obvious enemies. Luke 6:27 and 28 says, "But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you." Are there enemies in your life God is asking you to forgive? Taking a bigger step may be the seed that grows the impossible.
Hey man, my name is Mike Mott. Today's April 17th, and I hope you enjoyed that story about Bob Goff today. I know I've really enjoyed following the ministry of Bob Goff over the past few years. I think one of the things I love about Bob Goff is that he's an authentic follower of Jesus. He does what God's word teaches us to do. He's a doer of the word, not just a hearer only. We saw that in his story today. You know, standing up for the persecuted and the victim is one thing, but then standing up for the persecutor, the one that's bringing the hurt and the harm, it's a totally different thing. And God's word instructs us to do that as well. You know, Bob's words to us are a challenge today, man. If we want to see those big things happen in our lives, those big God things, we have to do those things God's way. Too often in my life, I want to do God's things my way And then I'm surprised when they don't work out or nothing happens or it falls to pieces. My faith isn't changed. My character isn't changed. God's promise to us and his desire is to do those big things in our lives, but we have to do it his way. Be doers of the word, even in those hard areas where we might look awkward or it might be difficult for us. It might be challenging. If we do it God's way, God will do his big things in your life. That's our challenge today, men. God bless you. Have a great day.